Joining us now is Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Good morning to you. This is being labelled
Good morning, Nat.
A budget of broken promises. Can Australians still trust the things you say?
This is a budget of reform and resilience. It is making sure that the Australian dream of owning your own home isn't out of reach for this generation of younger Australians, but of future generations to come. We have changed our position. Nat, I'm upfront about that, and we'll own that, and we'll argue why that's the case. We've been throwing everything at housing supply and at addressing what is the biggest issue, I think, facing younger generations, the issue of housing. But it hasn't been enough, which is why we've made this decision. Importantly, we're grandfathering the changes so that if you've got existing arrangements, they remain in place in terms of negative gearing. But the difference between negatively gearing a new home and an existing home is that you can still invest to boost your income and wealth, of course, but by investing in a new home, what you're doing is investing in Australia as well as your own future wealth.
PM, the voters need to trust you, though, and you were very adamant before the election that these changes were off the table. Just have a listen to this.
Any changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax setting.
How hard is it for the 50th time? Our position's very clear. That's not what we're doing.
I want you to say tonight, categorically, negative gearing is off the table.
Yeah, it's off the table.
Well, PM, look, you've told me a few times you're a conviction politician, but you didn't have the conviction to take this to the voters, if we're very fair about it. So let's get you on the record here. You've backflipped on property tax. Are you now considering a death tax?
No, we're not. And we have changed our position on property issues because we want 75,000 additional young Australians to be able to access their own home. That security that comes with having a roof over your head.
I appreciate that, but you knew that before the last election a year ago. None of the big factors have changed that much in the last year.
Well, they have. What has changed is that increasingly it became obvious that everything that we were doing was not enough. So we are throwing everything at this. It will make a difference for younger Australians. We're making sure, as I've said, that we're grandfathering the changes. So if you have a negatively geared property at the moment, no change for your existing arrangements. That's the right thing to do. We've been criticised for doing that, saying it doesn't go far enough. But I think that's the right thing to do, getting the balance right. But we're also saying we're not going to sit back and just kick this can down the road again when we know that we need to do something to get those 75,000 additional people into a home.
A lot of feedback.
Yeah, we're getting lots of messages, aren't we?
Yeah.
Here's one from Lee. He says, Mr Albanese was able to build his property portfolio through negative gearing. He's taken the opportunity away from young people to do what he did. What do you say to that? That
we haven't. They can invest in
but not on existing
a new
property.
build. No, they can invest in a new build though, and what they'll be doing is not just helping to build their own portfolio, they'll be helping to build homes that other young people will be able to move into and rent and to boost supply as well. So they'll be able to do that in exactly the same way. They can even choose the old system of capital gains of a 50% discount if they choose to do so.
But that's a very different market. I mean, there's a very heated property market from when you were able to invest and use negative gearing, like a lot of politicians have used negative gearing. It's a very different market right now, you'd have to concede, PM.
It is. That's the whole point of why we're making this change. You've just said it's a very different market. That's the point. We need to drive supply. This measure, along with the other measures that we have, the $2 billion for infrastructure, you know, the additional sewerage or energy or the extra kilometre of road that's required to boost supply. We're throwing everything at this to make a difference because it has got tougher. That's the whole point. As time has gone on, it's got tougher and tougher for young people to enter the housing market.
That is very true.
Which is why...
There's no doubt about that. Let me just ask you about...
Which is why we're making that change.